A lot of you have been asking for a video about Caylus. I'm not a big fan, but I'll give you 90 seconds. This is in the style of Yahtzee and Zero Punctuation. So, what is this Caylus game that everyone goes on about? Well, it's the story of a promiscuous provost that dances around during the day and comes at home at night to Daddy Bailiff for his punishment. Caylus is a game about pushing cubes around, but, that describes a lot of Euro games. But this one's different in that it's 3 hours long. Unless, of course, you happen to have a Caylus Commando in your group with Caylus Underoos, William Attia Special Edition that marches your group through at breakneck pace. Then you'll finish it in just 90 minutes. What's Caylus about? Getting victory points in a lot of different ways. You can build buildings, but you better watch out because these buildings here, if you let one person get 2 or 3 of them, you're in trouble. Go, Caylus Commando! Or you can spend your resources over here on the favorite track, and these flavors are orange, grape, strawberries and cream, and spamberry. That's right, you better know which one to pick, otherwise you're in trouble. Go, Caylus Commando! The other way to get victory points is to turn little pyramids of your cubes to help build the castle. But of course, Sir Cubalot's sitting over there grinning because he's got one more than you do, and he's going to get the bonus for turning in the most. Go, Caylus Commando! The problem with Caylus is while you have many choices, some of them are better than others. They're not all balanced. So while there are many ways to win, there are many, many more ways to lose. Go, Caylus Commando! Caylus becomes a really interesting game when you have 4 Caylus Commandos, all of whom think they know the best way to win, and they're all going to fight each other. Go, Caylus Commandos! So if you want to try this game, be aware that if you got the Caylus Commando at the table, you're going to lose by a lot. He'll probably double or triple your score, and then he will flex his William Attia Special Caylus Underoos at you. Well, that's enough time grilling this sacred cow, but now let's get on to a game that everyone can enjoy. Hi there, this is Scott Nicholson, host of Board Games with Scott, and I'm here to bring you another board game explanation and light review. And my goal is to help you decide if it's a game that you want to purchase and add to your collection. Now this week I'm going to be talking about the game Metropolis with a Y. It's got YS at the end because it was put out by a company known as East Starry Games, and so in a lot of their game titles they use YS. I've talked about one of these before with a game called Isfahan. Metropolis was designed by Sebastian Pauschan. It's for 2 to 4 players. It's going to take you 45 minutes or so to play, and you can play it with kids and adults together. And so why don't we open up this box and see what's inside? Alright, so what all comes with the game? Well, you get a map board like this, and this is probably one of the things in the game that's a little hard to deal with, and that the map is quite busy. It can be fairly hard to pick out some things. The map has, what's important about the map is that there are 5 districts that are outlined by this kind of murky gray river and the bridges that are important to cross between districts, and as the game goes on you're going to be moving from district to district. Some of the districts have lakes, some of the districts have statues to look at, and then there are some dead-end areas that are important to see in a district. You also get buildings. Each player gets a set of these colored buildings, and these are some of the neater components in the game. The tallest ones, 13 through 10, 9 through 6, 5 through 1. Each player has their own set in a color, and the buildings are made of wood. They're very nice feeling, and there's ridges on the side which makes them stick to each other very nicely. So these are nice fiddleable bits, but you're not going to want to fiddle too much because you want to leave these sitting face up so that other players can see what building numbers you have remaining. But these are the most attractive component in the game. And they work kind of like dominoes. Whee! You get a number of chits, and the chits are going to go on the board, and these chits offer you different scoring opportunities or penalties. There are cards that are going to be used throughout the game. So if you're playing the expert game, you're going to use these 2 colors of cards. These are going to give you your goals. If you're playing the basic game, you're just going to use these cards for your goals. And you'll use these cards for either game, and these indicate people who have accomplished certain things in the game. And then there's a reference card with the game, and this is very nice. It's double-sided based upon whether you're playing the expert or the basic game. So you can leave this face up, and these are the things that are going to score at the end of the game in the basic game and in the expert game. So that's very convenient. This was well thought out. So I like everything about the game except the board, and it's fairly muddy and hard to deal with and can really throw some people. I've shown this game to folks, and in general their nose kind of crinkles when they look at the board. I think it's interesting to look at, but I wish it had not been made in such muddy colors and they had made it more clear where the districts are. But once you've played a game of this, you'll understand the board, but it can throw people when you first show it to them. And of course you've got some rules. Hooray! Now let's see how all this works together in the flow of play. So, how does the game work? Well, first to set the game up, you put the board out and then you take these chits, the pink, the blue, and the purple chits, and you can either follow the picture and the rules and set them up that way, or you can just distribute them randomly. You put 7 in this middle section and you put 5 in each of the side sections. Now the chits all on the back have the number of points the chits are going to be worth. So it depends upon whether you want to look at theme or mechanics. If you want to look at theme, you can look at all the pretty pictures. If you want to look at mechanics, you can flip all the chits over and they're just telling you how many points those chips are worth. We'll go with theme. Ooh, thematic. One other note on setup, you don't put any chips in the dead ends. There are some spaces on the board that are only adjacent to one other territory, and that's known as a dead end. You don't put anything in those spaces. But other than that, you can just distribute them randomly. Now before I get too far into talking about the rules, I'm going to tell you there are 2 versions of this game. There's a family version and there's an expert version. I'm going to teach you the expert version because I think it's a much more interesting game. At the end of this, I will briefly go through the family version and how it's different. I'd suggest the family version only with kids, things like that, people that aren't too comfortable gaming, but if you've got any experience gaming, I'd say go for the expert version. So let's get right into it and see how the expert version works. What's the goal of the game? The goal of the game is to get points. I talked about earlier this reference card, and this is going to be a convenient way for us to talk about what things are worth. Now, the purple chips, they're worth 3 points each. We'll come back to the yellow chips a little later. The blue chips are worth 1 point each, and the person who has the most blue chips is going to have this card, which is worth a bonus 3 points. There's also negative points to be had in the game. For each one of these pink chips you take, you lose a point. And that means that space is an archaeological site. And so if you're building on that space, then you hate history. And the person who was the last one to get a pink chip gets this card. And that's minus 2 points. I'll talk about these bonus cards and this yellow chip a little bit later because those are all end-game scoring. But let's talk about how you play. During each round of play, one player is going to get to claim a piece of territory. And when they claim a piece of territory, they're going to get to put one of their buildings in that territory. But it's not so easy as just claiming a territory. Oh, no, no, no. You have to bid for it. Here's the way the bidding works. Now for this, we're going to use 3 colors, red, white, and blue, because that's American. Oh, wait, that's French too. Anyway, so the player who is starting is going to pick a territory on the board that is unoccupied by another player's building and put one of their buildings in it. They can use their low number of 1. They could use any number they want actually to start off with. And so we're going to say red's going to start there. Now for white to play, white has to play a higher numbered building in one of the spaces adjacent to that one. So white might take their 4 and they have to play it here or here. So white might say, well, I'm going to go this way. And now for blue to participate, blue has to play an even higher number building on a space adjacent to where white played. You can't place it where there's already been a building played, so blue might go there. And then you go up from there. So now red can come in. Now red's got a choice. Red could move over here into the dead end, or red could move this way or this way, and he goes there. And so this is how it works. You continue to move up. Each player can raise the bid by placing a bigger numbered building in a space adjacent to where the last one was placed. Now, at some point you're going to start to get to your tall buildings. Remember that you've only got 13 buildings to work with. So let's say it's red's turn. Now red, if red wants to play, they'll have to play an 11. They may not want to play an 11 or 12 or 13, so they can pass. If you pass, you're done and you're out, and you're going to go until everyone has passed. At that point, whoever played the last building wins that property. So we'll say red says, I don't want that, that's too rich for my blood. And white goes here with an 11. And blue says, well, I don't want to play my 12 or 13. So what happens then is the last building played, this 11, you flip it over, so you no longer see the number, and all the other buildings come off the board. And they go back into the player's hands. And that's the way the bidding sequence goes. Now the white player also wins this chip. Now remember, this is the negative chip. You can tell so by flipping it over. It says -1. This is the I hate history chip, so if you take it, you've destroyed an archaeological site, bad person. That player then will also get this card, which goes to the last person who destroyed an archaeological site, the I hate history card. Then the white player, since the white player won, the white player may start again. They start again with any of their buildings, anywhere they want on the board. So the white player might say, well, we're going to start over here. And you go through that whole process again. And you just continue going in turn order. And so what's interesting here is you can begin to set up some choices. You can force the bidding to go in a certain way. You can head the bidding towards a dead end if you want to do so. You can push people to use their big numbers, perhaps before they're wanting to do so, and doing so makes them say bad words. Now you know some player can play the 13, and they might say, all right, fine, I'll take the 13. You know it's over at that point, and then white gets to start again. And what's going to happen in the game is people will play their big ones, and then they'll look around and they'll realize, hey, I can't win a bid because someone's played all of their big numbers and they can't win any bids. So at that point, the other players are going to have chances to win bids. Now, what'll happen as the game goes on is the buildings are going to fill up the board. All right, so let's say the game's gone on a little bit and some players have played some buildings out on the board. Now what's been created are many more dead ends. Let me show you. Let's say that white started a bid here. And then we continue. So after white is the blue player who comes in with their 2. And red says, I want to go this way. And white says, well, I'll go right here. Now notice what has happened. No one else can play because this is a dead end. That way is blocked by a building. That way is blocked by a building. So white's going to win this because no one else can play. If you're the last player to play a building, then you're going to win it. So it flips that over, and those come off the board. Now white also has to take the I Hate History chip, and will then be the proud winner of the I Hate History card. Another thing that happens at this point are with these dead ends. Now let's say white just won that one, and white gets to go again. In this spot, notice blue has capped off this dead end. So white can just play their 1. And no one else can play. So white wins it with the 1. Now that may not be a very good spot, but it helps white to get rid of their pieces. And that's how the game ends. The game ends when one player gets rid of all of their pieces, and then you score. So it can be advantageous to look for situations to throw pieces away like that, because you've got to get rid of all of them. It can be really hard to win the bid with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, unless you use these tricks to try and stick them off in dead-end locations. So that's the way the gameplay goes. Whoever wins starts the new round, puts down a piece. The bidding goes around with people putting pieces on adjacent spaces, always going up until someone plays the last piece and everyone else has to pass. They have to pass because either A, they have no bigger numbers, B, they don't want to play bigger numbers, or C, they've gotten into a position where there are no other places to play. Then everyone will pass. The game goes until one player runs out of pieces, and then you count up score. So let's talk about scoring. So first, let's talk about this. Now, there's a 5-point bonus for the tallest building in each region. Let's take a look and see which buildings are tallest. So let's look in that back region. We can see that white has a tall building, blue has a medium building, so white's going to win 5 points for this one. Here in the middle region, we have blue with a tall building, white with a medium building, red with a medium building, so blue wins. In the bottom region, you have white with 2 tall buildings, red with 1 tall building, so white wins. If more than one person have the same height building, then you look to see how many of those buildings they have. If they have the same number of those buildings, then the tiebreaker is the next smaller building type. So let's go back to that middle section. Let's assume that white had another one of their tall buildings out. So at this point, blue has a tall building and white has a tall building. They each have 1. So now you go to medium-sized buildings. White has a middle-sized building and blue doesn't, so therefore white would win the award. So that 5-point award goes to the person who has the tallest building in each section. If there's a tie, then it's the person with the most tallest buildings. If there's a tie for that, then you go down a level of height. And if it's a tie all the way around, then both people get the 5-point bonus. Next in final scoring, every purple chip you got is 3 points. That's very easy. Every blue chip you got is 1 point, and the player with the most blue chips gets this card. Now, the way this card works is during the game, when one person gets a blue chip, you give them this card. If someone else then gets 2 blue chips, they take the card away from them, but you have to beat the previous holder of the card to take it away. Someone else then has to get 3 chips to take this away from the person who has it for 2 chips, and etc. It goes up that way. So this goes to the person who has the most blue chips. Then minus 1 point for each pink chip, and minus 2 points for the person who got the last pink chip. That's going to pass around as the game goes on. That's the I Hate History card. And now the big bonuses, the secret cards. Let's talk about those. First, these gray cards. Now these, you're going to have one of these. It's going to be secret, and this is going to have a color on it. And the colors map to the colors of spaces on the board. So for example, this one means for each brown territory, you get 2 points. Brown, yellow, gold, goldenrod. So you'll look on the board, and at the end of the game, for every goldenrod territory you have, if you have that card, you're going to get 2 points. So during the game, you're going to be trying to figure out what kind of color card someone has by looking at what sort of buildings they tend to take. So that's one level of the bonus scoring. Here's the second level of the bonus scoring. Now these are more complex, and these are various points based upon how challenging they are to accomplish. And again, you're going to have one of these 5 cards. So you're not trying to score all of them. You're going to have one card for a color, and then you're going to have one card for some terrain feature. So let's talk about each one of these. This bonus card gives you 4 points for every bridge that you have a piece on either side of. So therefore, there's a bridge. If you claim this and this, that's going to be worth 4 points at the end of the game. One thing to note is that you can only use a piece for one bonus claim. So if I had this, I don't get 4 points and 4 points. I only get 4 points once, because I can't use this piece to claim both this bridge and this bridge. Now if it was like this, now I can get 4 points and 4 points for a total of 8 points. But you can only use each piece once in a bonus claim. This one is 3 pieces around a statue gets you 7 points. And again, it works just like the other one. If I have this, that's going to get me 7 points. But I can then not use this for here. That's not another 7 points. I can only use this piece once in a bonus claim. So 3 pieces around a statue is 7 points. This 3 pieces around a lake gets you 5 points. So the lakes are these light green as compared to the river, which is the dark green. And again, 3 pieces around a lake gets you 5 points. Same rule as before. If there's a board situation where there are 2 lakes, like here in the middle, you can't use this one twice for 2 different claims. This one, for every set of 3 buildings you have that are connected, you get 4 points. So that means if you have 1, 2, 3, those 3 are connected, that's 4 points. Just like before, if I have 4, I don't get to count those as 2 3s. I can only count each piece once in calculating a bonus. But if I have it like this, then I could count 1, 2, 3 for 4 points. And I could count 1, 2, 3 for 4 points. But I can't double count any of those pieces. And finally this one, which is probably the least clear, for every region on the board where you have at least 3 pieces, you get 4 points. So the regions are outlined by the rivers. So in this region, if you have 3 pieces anywhere, then you get 4 points for that. And again, you're going to have one of these and one of these as your secret bonuses for the game. And a big chunk of the game is trying to deduce what the players are going for and then stopping them at all costs. So that's it for the expert version. Now in the family version, you don't have any awards for the tallest building in each section, and you also have a much simpler end of game reward system. You only have 1 card. This would be 3 points for every guy that's constructed next to the border of the board, 3 points for every person you have next to a bridge, 3 points for every person next to a lake, 3 points for every person next to a statue. The expert version is much more interesting with 2 layers of scoring. With the tall building scoring, there's more ways to score, so lots of different things you can go for. So I'd say, even from the beginning, try the expert version. So what do I think about Metropolis? Well, I enjoy it. It's one of the more recent games that I've come to really like. There's a few elements I like. I like the bidding mechanism. I like that you can see around the table, you can see what everyone has, and you can make decisions based upon that. So you can push people. You can say, oh, I see you've got that 12. Let's see if you really want to use it. I like the element on the board where you're moving around and you're trying to be intelligent and trying to get the trail to lead. And I like also using bids to try and figure out what the other people have. You give other people choices, and then based upon their choice, you might make some assumptions about what sort of things are on their scoring cards. I also like that you can try and fake people out by making choices that go against your scoring cards, and every once in a while taking something that doesn't score for you. If this game interests you, Rio Grande Games is bringing it to the US. Around the world, it's distributed by East Starry Games. You can just search for Metropolis with a Y. So this is Scott with no Y, signing out for Board Games with Scott. To see a lot more videos like this, head over to boardgameswithscott.com. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye. So here are the buildings. Ah, shoot. Looks like I'll be setting that up again. There's one for the blooper reel. And they work kind of like dominoes. Whee! Oh, no, it doesn't fall over. With a Y. This is done by Istari Games, and all of the games they've put out have YS in the name. I talked about one a few episodes ago, Isfahan. They've also done Caylus, C-A-Y, Caylus? Caylus? That doesn't have YS in the title. Let's start again.